Hello everyone, welcome, my name is Phoenix and this is the Consumer's Guide to Filmmaking. In a Violent Nature, 2024, Chris Nash. This film follows a hulking monster known only as Johnny. When someone steals a necklace from him, Johnny rises from his grave and marches forward on a quest to find it. Tracing its whereabouts to a group of rowdy college kids, Johnny proceeds to try and take his necklace back. The hard way. This was the best Friday the 13th movie since part 2. I jest, but seriously though, this was a damn good slasher movie. So, imagine,
if you will,
a studio decides to let some art house director make a slasher film, and the studio gives the director carte blanche to make whatever he wants. This is the sort of shit that will pop out. In a Violent Nature is a slasher film made with the sensibilities of the film snob in mind. It caters to both crowds, and while that seems like an odd thing to do, it sort of works in this case. What makes the film so different from other slashers, and the thing that sold me on it, was the gimmick. That gimmick being that the film is from the killer's perspective. But sadly, this gimmick is where I think the film falters, because director Chris Nash doesn't really commit to the bit as much as he should. There are too many shots that change perspective to the college kids in the middle of the film, and it destroys my immersion. Honestly, the part that pissed me off the most was when they showed Johnny's face. Like, fine, if you're gonna shoot him from the front, obscure his face, and Chris Nash did that for a brief period of time, but don't show it. That lack of commitment to the gimmick is probably the major thing that holds this film back. Otherwise, this film is fucking awesome. When Nash does commit to the perspective gimmick, he does so in such a challenging and unorthodox manner. As I alluded to, this director is going full art house with this. There are so many long takes where Johnny is shown from the back just stomping through the woods with nothing else going on. Occasionally it will cut to these wide scenic shots where you see Johnny stomping about, and they are beautiful to take in. It is so hypnotic and entrancing watching this monster walk forward, then it cut to a different time of day and he's still just marching on. The other element that stands out as being highly unusual for a film like this is the audio. There is no non-diegetic score for this film. It is nothing but nature noises. Branches snapping, birds chirping, people talking, general environmental noise. This is where the atmosphere, I think, is fully created. Watching this behemoth just march through the woods silently and then approach a conversation in progress, hearing the audio get louder as he gets closer, was really cool. There was a song during the credits, but the theater I saw it at shut the film down and closed up just as the credits started. As I was, writing this review and preparing it for this video, I did listen to that song, and it definitely fits the vibe of the film. And it was a Canadian song for a Canadian film. Very nice. But this film isn't just art fart nonsense. This is a slasher. Chris Nash, this guy knew what was up. Clearly working with a relatively modest budget, he poured every dime into these kills and it showed. Not only were they creative, they were practically done and looked phenomenal. Aside from the typical axes and knives through the skull, heads being crushed and limbs being chopped off, the one I think anyone who's seen this will always remember is the girl doing yoga. Fucking pulling her head through a hole in her stomach while it's still attached. Absolutely wild. I want to see how they set up that prosthetic work and edited around it because it was so seamless. One of my favorites was a guy getting hoisted up by his spine. It clearly a dummy shot, it was really well edited, and the crunching of his bones made me reel back a little. Writing is surprisingly one of the things that carries the film, and also reflects the gimmick. This story essentially flips the slasher movie upside down. In this film, the killer is the protagonist, and at certain points, you kinda feel for him. A bunch of snotty college brats gank his family heirloom, so he goes and gets it back, ridding the world of a few wastes of oxygen in the process. When the film fully commits to its shtick, The exposition is done so smoothly, as shown in the scene where the two remaining college kids find a cop and he explains what all is happening. We only catch a bit of the conversation due to us following the killer, but it was enough to fully explain what was going on. However, this lack of commitment to the shtick by Chris Nash was also detrimental to the script. Cutting to the college kids, we are treated to some less than stellar acting, and a bunch of annoying characters that I couldn't care about no matter how hard they tried to make me relate to them. Ree Barrett was great as Johnny, and he cut an imposing figure, but the kids just weren't it, Chief. Throwing in scenes like the girls swimming at the dock or the entire fireplace scene felt like fucking slashers for dummies, and it was so obnoxious. Scenes like that showed to an unflattering degree how much Chris Nash was taking from the Friday the 13th films. However, at the end, there is a perspective change, and it's the only time in the film that the perspective change was earned. And let me tell you, I loved the ending of this film. The remaining two kids hatch a scheme to take down Johnny, as would happen in any other slasher film. However, the plan immediately goes to shit, and the male survivor gets brained with an axe. Where normally a giant chase and fight would ensue between the final girl and the monster, the girl just assesses the situation, the killer is just beating the shit out of this guy's mangled skull, realizes that all Johnny wants is his necklace, and she gives it to him. She then escapes with merely a wound caused by a trip in the woods. It is implied at the end through this weird conversation some lady is having with her about a bear while she's being driven to the hospital. It is all implied through that conversation that, the final girl is going to be traumatized by this whole thing. A decidedly bleak and realistic thing to, bring up. The final shot of the film is this slow pan to the gas can she left the necklace on, and it's gone. I think showing Johnny has finally gone back to rest. Man, if Nash had just committed to this idea fully and completely and retooled certain scenes, this film would be getting a much higher score, and it would easily be in my best of the 2020s list. While I adore In a Violent Nature for its unique approach to the subgenre and its amazing filmmaking, it sadly falls short of me unreservedly loving it. I acknowledge its faults, namely the non-committal nature of the gimmick, but still adore this film, and I think Chris Nash has tons of upside as a director. Hopefully he learns from this experience and crafts something even more daring the next time around. If you're looking for a different sort of slasher, definitely keep this on the radar for the spoopy season. And I am feeling a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10 on this one. It's a bit closer to a 6.5 than it is a 7. Yeah, it's still a fun movie though. Catch you later, guys.